Hi guys, welcome back to Not Necessarily HVAC Part XX, or for you non-Roman types, Part 20. In this episode, we're going to be strapping up ducts, making provisions for cable TV, rough-in for our central vacuum system, building a niche for some towels in one of the bathrooms, and getting our walls insulated. If it sounds like I know exactly what I'm going to do in this video, it's because I've already done it. Due to my fat fingers, my intro video was me running around the basement in super high speed, fast forward, with no audio. I know what some of y'all are saying. Sounds like better than your normal videos, Chuck. That's just hurtful. But basically what I missed in the intro video of saying was I had originally said I was going to leave those flex ducts unstrapped until the insulators put their insulation into the floor. That way I could determine whether I wanted to go ahead and go up into the joist bay or hang it all down below the joist bay. That changed because the insulators wanted to come and do just the walls their first trip, and then they wanted to come back for the second trip and do the blow-in insulation in the attic and do the floor at that time, apparently because they have more people when they do the blow-in than they do when they do the walls. So I decided to go ahead and leave the flex duct up in the joist bay, but strap it loosely so that there's plenty of room above it to get the insulation up there. It's only R19, so it should fit no problem. Okay, started cutting them, putting them up. Got Missy to cut me a bunch of straps. Just measured them on these blocks here so she could make them all the same pretty much for the normal runs. I'm just going ahead and lapping it up on the outside of the joist. Since I'm going to let this hang down below it, there's no point in having to fool with getting your drill up in there. It's a lot easier to screw them out here, and you're going to have insulation over here anyway, so it just won't matter. So thought I'd go ahead and jump in here. I've been putting off insulating this main plenum for a long time, so we got her all mastic taped up and ready to insulate, so we're going to get that stuck on there before we go any further. I did put my pop-off discharge tube on. That's the one thing the inspector saw. He said, you're going to have that on before you get your final, and I said, yeah, I'll do it. I had some junk in the, or I call it junk, my old 20-year-old plumbing box there. I had some, fittings and things in it, and I had this union, and the reason I did that, I figured if you ever took the heater out, instead of having to cut this, you could just take the union loose, and then you could unscrew it, because I had to do that offset to miss the stand. However, after I got all that hooked up, I got to digging around. I figured I'd have plenty of male adapters in the box, but I did not. I had this one compression to male pipe thread adapter in there, so I just went ahead and used it. If I'd have known I had that, I could have left this old union out and just made it a solid piece, because you can take it apart right here. But either way, it's piped in. It didn't cost anything because it was all stuff I've had for, well, I think it was 2002 the last time I did any plumbing like that, so it's been a while. I can probably go ahead and hook this up now too. Go ahead and put my control valve and everything in. The water's turned off at the meter. It's actually still got the lock on it from the city because I haven't paid them to turn it on yet. My intent is probably, I'll just drag a hose over and maybe use a female to attach the garden hose to one of my outside hose spigots and pressurize this thing. I just want to put water on it before we button up behind the bathtubs and around the washing machine. That's the only place I'll have any water in the wall. So I would really like to put some water on it before we cover that up with drywall, just to make sure we don't have any leaks. I had an air test on it, but I was also air testing this water heater, so there was a lot of volume there, and if you had a small leak, it probably wouldn't show up very good like it would if it was just in a, just in the pipes. Well, pretty much all the heat's going upstairs now. I didn't shorten or even hang up this back one back here because they've got to get insulation into that bay, and if I pull it up under that beam, they probably won't even try. So it's actually just, all these things are just stuck on there right now. I can pull them off, but it's 43 outside right now, and it's been 65 upstairs all the time, even with that ridge vent open up there in the attic. I don't know what the temperature would be up high, probably pretty warm. I picked up a couple of these mowing grab bars. I was going to put them in Mom's shower here. And I think I want to take the longer one here, and I've already drilled some holes for it. And I'm going to mount it basically right there. And it, it fits in that niche, which keeps it back out of the way. But yet you can still grab a hold of it easy. And then the shorter one, I'll use this one to show you, but the shorter one I'm going to put right here as you enter the shower close to your faucet. It's supposed to have one here to grab a hold of. Of course, you're supposed to have one on the back too, but I think 2 is going to be plenty for this application. But what I'm going to do is I've marked and drilled the hose through this, just flimsy fiberglass. You got to have some kind of blocking behind it. So it's important to do these before the sheetrock people get here. So I'll walk around back and show you what I'm going to do back there. Okay, there's our 3 holes for the bottom of that one flange that's on the end of the grab bar. Back up a little bit so you can see. You can see you got the 2 studs. So you got one set of hose down here and one set of hose up here. So what I'll do is I'll take something like this piece of scrap 2x6 and I'll put it up tight against the actual back of the fiberglass stall, and then I'll cut me a block that fits in between these 2 studs that I can sandwich up against it and screw to the studs on either side, and that'll give you something good and sturdy to bolt that grab bar to. So we got our 2x6 back there. I put me a little mark on the actual back of the shower here so I'd know where those holes were in relationship to my 2x6, so they'd be in the center of it, because once you put this board up here you can't remember where the holes were. But I didn't plumb nothing. I mean the studs are already plumbed, but I didn't try to level this or anything. I just screwed a right width board here to a slightly smaller width 2x6 so it wouldn't interfere on either side, and then pushed it up there, got it the right height right here where the bar is going, and then screwed it to the studs. So that'll be good and sturdy. And I'm gonna go around on the other side and actually put some 100% clear silicone behind my, or maybe put it in the screw hose before I screw the bar on here. Okay, I guess I'll maybe make out on video. We got our hose down here for the bottom of the bar and up here for the top of the bar. It says use an 1/8 inch drill bit in the instructions. This is a pretty fat screw, so probably a good idea to take a little bit of wood out. I drilled the fiberglass, didn't want to crack it, but I'm going to run the same bit into the wood. I've already done it to the top. I'm going to do it down here. So we got pilot hose in that wood to keep from cracking it. We got a magic eraser that happened to be laying here. I'm just going to make sure there ain't no dirt on this thing that you won't be able to get back to later, since it's so filthy in here, where it's been sitting around for months. I think I'll just put a little gob kind of in and around the hole, and let it just push down into it, and then we can clean up the excess if we need to. I want to clean my hole out. Almost. Come on out of there. Daggone. There it come. I like this caulk. It's actually got removable ends so you can push it out the other side, but it makes a mess. So it hadn't been but a day or two since I used it. I didn't figure it had gotten hard already. Okay. I'm not going to pull it in all the way yet until I get it lined up here. Pretty sure that's the factory spec on those. could pick the house up with that. I'm going to put a shorter bar right here so we can have something to grab to when you step in. Okay, got the second one on there. It's good and sturdy. Top is pretty straightforward, just a block between here, but down here I went ahead and got a little creative because we had this PEX line coming up this bay, and it needed to be right here. So what I did, I just basically cantilevered this piece, screwed it to this block good, put it in there, screwed that block good to the stud wall, and then the piece that's sticking out here is actually what's holding the actual grab bar. So yeah, should be good and sturdy. So one more thing off the punch list here. Well, it's the next morning and the insulation guys called early and said they couldn't make it today. It's Monday morning and apparently a few guys called in, so we're having to scramble and readjust their schedule. They said they'd come tomorrow between 7:30 and 8, so I guess that's that. So it's raining, snowing, can't make up its mind what it wants to do outside. So I've got some things I need to do, but since I really don't want to get wet in that mess, I'm gonna just mess with the stuff that's really not important here, like this doorbell. I just mounted a metal box iron, mounted a little doorbell transformer in it. Of course it needs 120 volts going to it, so I've got this sump pump circuit right here, and that's the only thing on that circuit is the sump pump, and it's on the ground fault receptacle there. So what I think I'll do is come off the load side of that ground fault with my doorbell, and that way if your doorbell quits working, you might want to check on your sump pump. Plus I'm gonna go ahead and hook it up now until time for the drywall guys to come, and I may pull the guts out of the bell upstairs, but I can tell at a glance when I pull up that the sump pump's got power, but just by looking at the lighted doorbells. So I'm going to pull this sump pump receptacle apart, get this wire over in it and tie it into the load side, and then I should have 16 volts right here for this doorbell wire. Okay, this had been the end of the line since it was only one outlet on it, so I just had to take the ground back off of the receptacle, twist them together with the new wire I put in, and put a crimp sleeve on it and hooked it back up. So now I'll take my two new wires, my white and my black, and hook them into the load side of this receptacle. That's these two holes down here, the bottom of the breaker, and button all that back up, and then I can go upstairs and run all the doorbell wire. Okay, got my two power wires that runs up to the doorbell up in the living room onto the transformer here. So plug the sump pump back up. I'll have to come back down and press the reset button after I turn the breaker on. I pushed it to make sure it was off, but it was. I was afraid I might have got the wrong breaker. Okay, just because it feels so much nicer to push on the doorbell when it's on something solid versus plastic, I just went ahead and mounted them here on the brick molding around the doors. Came into that little gap that I hadn't put foam in or insulation yet, came up and went up and into the attic with the both the front and rear doorbells. So up here's the actual doorbell itself, just one of those that goes ding or ding dong depending on which one of these you power up. I've got 3 terminals and 6 wires. So this is my, I put it over here by itself, this is my power wire coming in from the transformer. So really all I need to do to this white one, if I hook the white one to the center terminal on this doorbell, and then if I take the red one and hook it to one of the wires going to the switch, which I think I'll use the white ones, and I'll do it on the front and the back. Basically all we want to do is send power to both switches. So I'll wire net these 3 wires together, and so what you'll have is half the transformer or the doorbell will have connection to the transformer all the time on the center one, and then depending on which bell is pushed, either one of these red wires will become hot. I don't care which one's which. I mean, the worst case scenario is I get it wrong and I have to swap it. You got a 50-50 shot of getting it right. Well, 60-40 by the time we figure old Murphy in on the equation there. But at any rate, I'm gonna go ahead and grab a couple little wire nuts, put this thing together, and make sure the buttons light up. Well, I got it wired up here. I went down to the basement and turned the, or pushed the little button on the outlet to turn the power back on. And I came back up, and of course, I came in the back door there and the button was lit up. So I went ahead and pushed it, and I think I should probably go buy a lottery ticket because it went ding. It didn't go ding dong. So I'm assuming I've got the front and the back door in the right place. Normally you want your front door to be the prettiest one, which is the ding dong normally. Although, I guess it could be a bad doorbell. And the front door might just go ding too, in which case I'll save $1 and not buy a ticket. Oh no, it ding dongs. Sorry about that. Y'all got little dogs laying around, I didn't think. Probably should go back and put a disclaimer in the video. So, doorbell's in. We don't have walls. We don't have toilets. But we got a doorbell. Okay, I just stuck this box in. It's got a 3/4 inch conduit that comes through and goes down into the crawl space. I just stuck it down about 1 inch above the bottom of the joist, I think. I like to call it, wonder what kind of cable or wire our TV will come in on next week. Basically, we can pull either, you know, coax cable or Cat 5, Cat 6 cable, whatever it happens to be at the time. Shoot, might be fiber optic soon, who knows. I'm gonna put one in each bedroom as well. The ones in the bedroom will be a little simpler. I can just go straight down through the floor. The reason I couldn't do that in there in the great room is the center beam under the house is directly underneath that wall. So that's why I had to go out through a partition and down. So these are real simple. Drill a hole, put it all together, and screw it to the wall. Good morning. It's about time for the sun to come up, but we got light. I came on over in case the insulators show up this morning. I thought I'd warm it up for them. 41, so I guess it's truly 41. Like I say, these old Honeywells don't read anything lower than 40, I've noticed. I've got on the furnace and I went ahead and turned on this little DeWalt as well. Yesterday I went ahead and roughed in for central vacuum. It doesn't cost hardly anything to buy these wall inlets and one piece of pipe and a couple of fittings. Actually, the fittings are left over from my house, so all I bought was 8 foot of pipe and two wall inlets. One will be in this hallway. The other's in this hallway. And the ones I used at my house, you actually hook power to them. And the hose, if you've got a beater brush or something on it, has 2 prongs and you got to plug it in the right way and everything. But with hard floors, typically you don't use a beater brush. So they make a hose as well. It doesn't use those 2 prongs. It has a cord that comes off of it that you can plug in an outlet nearby. So that's what I opted to do here, because I doubt they'll even you know, have a powered head on a vacuum cleaner here. So I got those roughed in. Of course, we got our doorbell now, so we're about ready to move in, I guess. I got this area here in the I guess what would be called the master bath. It's just dead space. It's where I run my B vent up through, and also my vent for the sewer vent that goes through the roof up there. But I'm going to box this in and make a little niche in the wall that'll be, what do you figure that is, 15 inches deep. This bathroom really has no storage in it. The hall bath has that linen closet right across the hallway from it, but I think what this would just be a place to roll up some towels or even fold them up and stack them in here. You can put a lot of towels in a place like that. So that's what I'm going to do while I wait on them to hopefully show up. Insulation guy's here. He's doing a bang up job. At any rate, I went ahead and jumped down here and connected up this fresh water. This is where I used to have my gauge when I tested it. So I just basically put a 1 inch valve, 1 inch 90, 1 by 3/4 reducer there. caulked around it. Like I say, water will try to follow this sleeve in when the water gets real deep out there at the street. I built my little niche upstairs. I'll get you a shot of it when I get you a shot of the insulation, but everything should go well. He's putting baffles in. He's you know, the baffles up in the, well, you'll see them, they're cardboard baffles to keep the blown-in insulation from going up against the roof and stopping the soffit vents from working. He's foaming around the windows good, using a telephone. Already feels warmer in here. Here's my little towel niche. Of course, it'll just have drywall go here and in the back and out the front. He'll just put corner beads around it. It'll just get painted out. So just a place to lay towels in there. But boys just leaving it. Come and did my insulation. One guy did it. A younger boy put the baffles in for the blow-in. Over here where you had this stairwell and porch, they actually put a R38 bats along there, I guess just so they wouldn't fill that porch up with insulation of that stairwell. Got me a bat here for the attic access later. But all in all, I think he did a great job. He seemed very detail oriented. They foamed around the windows, which I didn't even know they would do that. And he also, on these headers that were split, had a 1/2 inch gap up in them. He filled them full as well. So, and I think he just saw that after he was working and went back and got the foam off the truck again and came back in. So I'm real pleased. Again, they do it for what it would cost me or you pretty much to buy the stuff. So they must get a heck of a deal on the insulation. So I'll call the inspector and tell him he can come and look at this. I ordered drywall yesterday. It should be here on Monday. They're going to come and stock it into the house on Monday. So just depending on how quick or how slow the drywall guys can get here, it'll start changing the looks of this place finally. Okay guys, I'm here waiting on the inspector. He should come by hopefully this morning, but you never know. I'm just going to do a little house cleaning while I wait. I need to really get everything out of here. I'll probably leave my saws and maybe just roll them out on the front porch whenever they're working on the drywall, because I really don't want to haul them out and then have to haul them right back in when I start trim. But I made a little change on the electrical here. It's this wire right here that goes up this side. I didn't want to have to try to drill any more holes in there. That's actually going to be for my AC condenser outside. I stuck a 30 amp breaker in here. It uses I think a max 25. So I'm going to, I'll get me a 25. I didn't have one. That's the actual 30 that came with this panel. They give you 2 30s, I assume, for a dryer, which I used, and a electric water heater, which I did not use since I put gas in. So I have ran that 12 gauge wire overhead and came down out here in my stairwell. There, and I've just got it kind of coiled up in here out of the way. And the reason I did that, I had intended to just run my condenser out of this panel right here, since it's going to be sitting right here beside of it. I've got those 4 spaces. But this connection over here is for the underground electric. You can't actually get back into it now that the seal is on the meter. So the only place I really had to come out was right over here. And my condensing unit's going to have to sit on this side, so I would have had that whip coming across the front of this, or trying to squeeze it behind it, I don't know. Anyway, I just figured I'd be better off just coming down here, and I can just set me a disconnect on this wall anywhere I want to. Plus, I'm going to do something with that carport after all this is said and done. Maybe, you know, build a true frame structure on it, and I'll probably run some power out there for it. So that's just going to, I think, work out better for me. At least it gives me options. Now, before anybody says anything about running a 12 gauge wire on a 25 or 30 amp breaker, just know that because it's HVAC equipment, the rules are different. A lot of reason it's different, mostly because HVAC has motors that are thermally protected, and they have a real high inrush when they start, and then they usually drop way back. If you've ever put an amp probe on a heat pump when it's running, you'll see it doesn't pull near what the total ampacity of that label says it is. So my unit's going to have a total ampacity of, it's either 12 or 14 amps. So that means I could legally run a 14 amp wire or 14 gauge wire out there, a 15 amp wire. And then I could put the 25 amp breaker on that it says is the maximum overcurrent protection. I'll change this breaker to a 25 or even a 20. We won't trip it, but they just give you the maximum. It's probably best if you're on something that you don't want to have to go back to. Always put the maximum breaker that it says. That way you won't have any trouble down the road when the breaker gets a little weak or this or that. So if you're curious about that, just Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever search engine you're using today, go in there and put NEC Article 440, and it'll give you some good information about HVAC equipment and how they make you rate the wire. Well, the inspector just left. He said I'm good to go until final inspection. So I will wrap this one up here, maybe get one out tonight for y'all, and the next one should be drywall. Again, it's coming on Monday, so depending on how quickly the contractor can get here, hopefully we'll get it wrapped up pretty quick and go on to trim and pretty stuff. Thanks for watching.